Exactly.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Doge and Bunny Show numero cinco, number 5. Liana on Rubin. We
That
are your.
sounds so dirty.
I know, that's why I put it in. I wasn't,
It's perfect.
I wanted to come up with something clever for this. I just couldn't think of anything, so I just, you know what, forget it. Liana and Rubin, you draw your own conclusions. I have, what is it that Stephen Crowder says? I have provided my legal obligations. Draw your own
It's true.
conclusions.
It's true.
Mm. Mm. So, I'm sorry. I'm drinking my coffee because I'm going to need it for this.
I know. And I just want to be sure, everyone in the chat, you have your Christy Winters sarcasm decoder rings, right? Because I would hate to be misinterpreted.
That's right.
So I trust you have your decoder rings because there may be some sarcasm up in here. I don't
Yes.
know.
But there might be. So,
Maybe.
you know about the Dave Rubin Show chat. Actually, while we're talking about it, let me know what do you think about Dave Rubin's The Sit Down, his channel. I watch it. The thing about it is it's good. Like he brings on good guests, and I'm glad that he's sort of cut the umbilical with the Young Turks a while back.
Yes.
And he's beginning to entertain, like a lot of new ideas, and he brings on a lot of great guests from all sides of the political spectrum. Some better than others. I think there have been some guests where I'm like, why did you bring that person on? This is one of them. And and I know it sounds mean, but
Why you guys pick on Liana so much?
I'm not. Did somebody say that?
Yes.
Why do I pick on Liana K so much? I don't think I'm picking on Liana K. I think that, for one, we had another thing we could have done today, but I think we're going to do it next week. It's Bunny gave me a great article, and it was like a study, right, about get this, homosexual men and how they perpetuate toxic homogenous masculinity, narrow gender roles, and so on, because
right?
they're annoyed with effeminate homosexual men.
We need to do this study, but we need more time.
But
and
we need more
wanna
time.
Get somebody else, and we may
And-
want to get somebody else.
And we
on.
may want to get somebody else. So
Yeah.
we wouldn't mind getting a perspective of a homosexual man that wants to come on to talk to us about it. But if that guy's not available, we'll take Tildeer too. It's he'll do. No, I don't mean
No,
like that.
no. I know you don't, and it's a brilliant comment. Because Teal is like multi-purpose. He can do anything. Teal does everything. Speaking of which, we had a request for Bunny and Doge theme song before we begin. So if I may, I've been trying this out.
Okay.
Bunny and Doge, they do the talks, they're constructing all the cocks.
I don't know. I'm working on it. It's a little death clock, but without all the talent. So yeah, I'm working on it. I've
Okay.
got a guitar, but I only know like 6 chords.
I
know
happen
Dr.
to I happen
I
to
know
like
Dr.
Death
Rabbit.
Clock, so that
Yeah.
will that will suit my purpose as well.
It's true.
That is relevant to my interests.
But we have to talk about deconstructing cocks. It's important to me for a strange reason.
Yes.
So, okay, so that is the best theme song we have for now. We have not settled on one. I think every episode we should try a different theme or style.
Oh, I got it.
I've got a saxophone somewhere. I'll get it out. We'll do some Kenny G.
I got it.
Bunny and
We should try to
Doge.
get Justicar. He is a great fag that could actually probably have a lot to contribute to.
I think that would be great.
to it.
My experience, of course, before we get started, I'm part of the queer community kind of peripherally, and this isn't the first time I've mentioned this.
I think
And-
I remember that.
Yeah, and I've known many gay men, and I've worked with many gay men in a clinical capacity, but that doesn't mean I understand it, right? It just means I have a certain perspective. But the whole point of the study, which hopefully, and maybe Justicar can help us with this, is I think that the gay male identity is kind of being erased. Do you remember when we did the fucking sperm bank thing? And they were like, we are excluding LGBT things because blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, are they men or not? Are they subject to toxic masculinity or not? Like, I think, and with being kicked out of the progressive stack, I think gay men are kind of in this weird state of like, are we men and therefore toxic, but we're still part of this maybe vestigial progressive stack, so do we get a pass? And I think it's actually really patronizing and really fucked up. So I think it's worth looking at, because are gay men actually men? I say they are. Some may say they're not.
Bunny, there's so much bigotry in what you said. I don't even know where to begin.
I know.
First of all,
how dare I think gay men?
Some women can produce sperm too. First of all, not all women are incapable of producing sperm, and not all men can actually produce it either. So there's your first mistake.
Brian.
I know.
Just fuck your pronouns.
You gotta. You're just perpetuating this binary of biological sex. Like, this is a myth. It's been debunked so many times. It's clearly socially constructed. I mean, I wouldn't have balls if my parents didn't buy me Tonka trucks, and I blame them.
Obviously.
Squarely.
Obviously. Oh, and that comes up in the Liana K study, which will segue us in. Play us in, Brian.
Okay, so Liana K appeared on Dave Rubin somehow, and they're talking. I'm only going to play the second video, because the first one is just them geeking out about cosplay, and I don't know. There's not much there that you can actually make any use of, but there are some interesting feminism-oriented geek culture commentary that Liana K makes, and there's a bit of cringe, and I just want to go through this. So this is a bit more laid back. We'll get into the gay study next week. So let's begin.
I want to make sure that we don't gloss over the feminism part of this, because that's obviously where you spend a lot of your time. I've had many guests on this show, and myself included, that have been pretty critical of third wave feminism. How is that sort of tied into everything we're talking about now?
Well, feminism has never been popular.
Okay. I have so many notes, Brian. It's terrible.
Do you want me to wait till she says something you want to speak to, or do you want to say something now?
No, because I don't want to spoil it. So we need to lay the foundation. Otherwise, what I say will make no sense.
So,
and by the way, chat, is our sound okay?
Yeah, let us know if we sound all right. I think my voice is a little bit louder, but Bunny is generally OP, so I think that balances out.
Oh, okay, are we good?
Yeah.
And yes, semen can flow back a little bit into the bladder, but it takes, it's, so the chat is amazing right now. Okay, but is our sound okay? Yes.
Yes. We'll see what they say. Okay, so opening line: feminism has never been popular.
So funny.
You might want to think about why that might be, Liana. I don't know if you're going to, but that might be the first thing to think about.
It's so funny, and it's so funny anyway, because what the fuck does popular mean, really? Okay, are we talking about populism? Anyway, okay, yes. Thank you. We finally had a sounding good, folks. Thank you, They Live Glasses.
Good.
Appreciate it. Okay.
All right, let's keep going. Yeah, okay. Joe says, feminism's never been popular? Yeah, I don't know. Let's see what she says.
I know now, in retrospect, we think, oh no, second wave feminism was embraced. It wasn't. Oh, first wave feminism, the right to vote, was embraced. It wasn't.
Okay, so some things about that really quick. First wave feminism, it wasn't called feminism back then, but the suffragette movement, I guess we'll put it that way. We talked about this in the show before. There were two groups, the suffragettes and the suffragists. One of them were terrorists, and the other one wanted equality, but not just for women, but also for men. So this wasn't just about women's suffrage and the fight to end it. I'm just a joke. So I'm not really sure what Liana K is saying here. I noticed that she and many other feminists that have talked about the suffrage movement, they don't make that distinction between the two groups, the suffragists and the suffragettes. So that's the first thing. And as far as second wave feminism goes, well, even the first one, if it was really unpopular, women would not have gotten the vote.
And that leads into my point. We're getting into a populist argument here. I mean, what is popularity? In my opinion,
it's when everybody likes you and you get to be the prom queen and
people tell you look like Scarlett Johansson and sorry, I'm spoiler. Anyway, no, in my opinion, popularity is quite an irrelevant argument in this particular respect. I think it is much more useful to focus on, but what about the laws? Because if everybody hates me, but the laws are still being made to suit my demands, does popularity really count for anything? And Liana should already know about 1982 and our Charter of Rights and Freedoms and the senior Trudeau and how much he pandered to feminism in that. So whether feminism was, and then we're talking second wave, whether feminism was popular or not, it was written into our fucking laws.
Mm-hmm. It was popular enough.
So, and what we're really getting down to is with whom? Popular with whom? Is it popular with the people who can't affect change, or is it popular with the people making the fucking laws?
Yeah, that are actually instituting change.
That is, yes, because that is what actually counts, right?
Yeah. Or even the people who are voting the people in who are promising to put in laws that change the way women, are treated or the way they function in the workplace or whatever. So, no, I mean, I don't think feminism was ever as unpopular as she implies. I think that what she's missing is the man-hating sort of, angry, radical segment, which is a large segment of feminism, if not the majority of it, is those are the elements that people reject and they're not really fond of. I mean, that's why there were the polls that Milo Yiannopoulos often cites to say, look, it's really unpopular. Mm-hmm. It's because of the hatred and the bigotry and the misandry and all of that. But I mean, if you take all that out and you look at what remains, all you're getting is traditionalism cranked up to 11. So that means we're just doing the same thing we've been doing, but we're just doing it more, and we're doing it on a, in a political scale, because it's basically protect the women, which is something that we've been doing way before we ever coined the term feminism. We're just protecting women.
Exactly. And whether it's popular or not, is she really trying to present that Pierre Elliott Trudeau writing unrestricted government-funded abortion into the new Charter of Rights and Freedoms had nothing to do with feminism? Are you fucking serious right now? Mm-hmm. The thing with popularity is, to me, it's such a weak argument, because the second something becomes a law, you are expected to abide by it, whether you like it or not. So popularity becomes irrelevant.
Yeah. It's sort of like, you could say that, there was a time where seatbelts were unpopular. In fact, there was a time where seatbelts didn't exist and people drove their cars without them. And it wasn't as long ago as people might think. Now, they're not just in every vehicle, and they're also mandatory. And surprise, surprise, popular. But you have to ask yourself which came first. But whether it was popular or whether it was mandatory, because you make something the law and suddenly everyone's doing it. That means it's popular too.
Exactly. And for me, it's so weird to focus on popularity, because I mean, and maybe this is me because I'm a bit strange and was beat up a lot, but I've never considered popularity a real metric. Mm-hmm. For me, it is more, but what happens? But what is actually happening, right?
Yeah.
Because I've been the only person in a room saying, I think men's rights are important. And everyone else is saying, no, they're not. So does it matter to me that I'm in the minority? Not one fucking nanite. It doesn't matter to me at all. I know what I know, and maybe I'm wrong. But popularity really doesn't register much to me. Right. What registers to me is things like fucking, laws. So.
There you go. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's see what she says next.
The suffragettes back in the day were labeled terrorists.
They weren't labeled terrorists.
They were
terrorists.
They were terrorists outside and inside their
They
own
were
homes,
unfairly labeled terrorists. Wait, you mean like MRAs, even though they've never blown anything up, to my knowledge?
To be fair, at least she's bringing it up. Most people just gloss this shit over and say, no, they were like martyrs for the cause and never did not. They didn't do nothing.
They were plucky little underdogs just trying to get their voices heard. Yeah. And sometimes you just got to blow up a monument or a post office to do it.
Mm-hmm. And in some ways they were. I mean, they committed bombing.
In some ways they were, she says. So she kind of half admits to it. But it's weird that she actually says this. She says that they committed... I'm going to go back a teeny bit.
Do it.
Okay.
Feminism, the right to vote, was embraced. It wasn't. The suffragettes back in the day were labeled terrorists, and in some ways they were. I mean, they committed bombings in public buildings over in England. It has never been popular, in part because of the Marxist elements in it, in part just because there has always been this thing, and it happens in a lot of civil rights movements, but they work and they work and they work and they work, and real lasting change takes a lot of time. It's not sexy, and it doesn't feel good. And so at some point in every movement, you get this more militant wing who gets tired of waiting, and they blow something up, either literally or figuratively. In the first wave,
And-
it was the bombings of Monument. In the second wave, it was what I call the Dwork side. And that the feminist sex wars continue to this day. People have this misconception that feminism is a monolith. It's not. It's always.
Okay, we're going to stop here because
Yeah.
now she's going in a whole other direction.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and to me, the measure would be, and what did those supposed moderates say and do about the radicals? Did they say anything? Or did they reap the benefits of the radicals' action while neither condoning nor condemning it? Interesting.
Apparently, the bombings and the terrorist acts is it's an unfair label, even though this is what they were literally doing. And I like how she says, well, in part it's because there are Marxist elements. No, I hate to say this, but if it wasn't for the Marxist and communist elements, there wouldn't be feminism. Like that's what it's born out of, because it created a new kind of class struggle in the West, particularly in the second wave. And you can look into it; it's there. This isn't like, some people dismiss the whole cultural Marxism thing as some kind of conspiracy theory, the Frankfurt School and all that. But no, it's all there. It's very plain. Erin Pitsey talks about it all the time. She basically says, "Look, feminists are commies." And they're the worst kind because they're doing it in the most effective way. This is why they've been able to last so long. Look, when you create class division by wealth, right? Which is what the original sort of communist idea is that the proletariat and the bourgeoisie. People do resist because there are a lot of people who go along with it and they think that this is a worthwhile belief system for some fucking reason, and that's a whole other can of worms I'm not going to open right now. But a lot of people also resist because they're just like, well, we all want to earn money, and so what's wrong with that? And maybe they have other sort of beliefs about it. But when you divide it along the lines of gender instead, it's way harder for people to shake that out of their heads, because it's like, well, yeah, women are underprivileged, and not that they are, but it's easy to make people believe that they are, because you use emotional rhetoric and people's propensity to favor women, like just gynocentrism. It works because you say, look, this woman is suffering because she can't, I don't know, whatever, she's not making enough money, 77 cents to the dollar, rape culture, harassment online, domestic violence, and you just throw all the shit out there, and then you basically create this model of illusion of a woman who is a second-class citizen. And it's way more effective than talking about class struggle is the gender struggle. So the Marxist element is not like it's not like an extra ingredient that didn't belong inside of the salad. It's like the base, it's what it was made from.
Yeah, exactly so. And I would really I would love, okay, for all of our criticism, I don't think Liana is stupid. That's how we say it here. Stupid. I don't think she's stupid. But I think she's being tremendously disingenuous to say, well, people think of feminism as a monolith. And that's actually one of her little hooks that she tries to put in, saying people think of feminism as a monolith, but I'm not like that. I'm not like the Dwork side. But when you look at anyone, and let's just narrow down to YouTube. When you look at any of the anti-feminists on YouTube who have half a brain and are attempting to not just every single one acknowledges that feminism is not a monolith. Every single one acknowledges that there are differences in how feminism is approached. You've got coffee shop, you've got university brainwashed, and all the way up to lesbianism as a feminist act, and everything in between. I think she's kind of insulting even her own audience by saying, oh, people think feminism's a monolith. Well, by that definition, then people who follow you and believe you are dumb. So you're kind of insulting your own fans here. Come on, let's just retire that feminism's a monolith thing, and give people enough credit to know that there are different kinds of feminism. That's all I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Because I think this is tired. It's a tired pony.
It is.
Let
It
the
is.
pony rest.
And
Okay.
I want to say to Dave Rubin, I know that he generally doesn't push back too much on his guests, because he doesn't bring them on to debate them. He generally brings them on to just interview them. And he does a good job at interviewing people. However, I did notice that, I mean, when somebody is just, when there is, I guess, some shit to question, I think that he should be more adamant on doing it, because he does with some guests and not with others. For example, this is just an example, so I'm just sort of pointing this out. This is a small criticism of Dave Rubin, because I think he should have pushed back a bit when she said, well, even when Dave Rubin himself said, this sort of tired thing that I hear a lot, where people say, oh, third wave feminism, or even now I think we're going into fourth wave feminism. That was bad feminism, but before that, it was okay. And the fact is, it was never great. Feminism was never great. Hashtag. Okay. Because hashtag feminism was never great. Because the thing is, it wasn't. I mean, like in the 60s, when Gloria Steinem was, leading the second wave feminist movement, it was very anti-male. The Andrea Dworkin and Germaine Greer and all of those crazy ass feminists from that time period, they were leading the movement, and they were man-hating, just terrible, terrible women. And then there were parts that were more radical than them. Like, have you ever heard of a womanist? The womanists were black feminists, and the black feminists were demonizing black men, and they actually were more successful in destroying the black family than the regular feminists were at destroying their families, like in terms of the nuclear family. And I wouldn't say it's the entire reason, but it's it is a contributing factor to why, at least in the United States, the black family is just ruined. I mean, there are very few that stay together, and it's all fucked up. And the woman has had a part to play in that. And Gloria Steinem encouraged them to do that, And then when you go like the wave previous to that, where it was mostly like upper class, middle to upper class white women that were running the movement, they were all they wanted their stuff, but they didn't want women of color getting rights. They were immensely racist. They were also they were terrorists. So no, Liana, it was never great. Like, this is
not a good thing.
It was never a good thing. Just because you got something out of it doesn't mean that it was a good thing, because the stuff like the vote and the ability to work and whatever benefits came out of the first two waves of feminism, whatever benefits came out of it did not have to come out of feminism itself. In fact, even though it's difficult to actually confirm this for sure, but Karen has made a really strong argument. Karen Strawn, Girl Writes What, has made really strong arguments to suggest that they probably would have gotten those things eventually anyway, because the world was changing anyway,
Yep.
So anyway, go ahead.
And just in terms of black feminism, now we have misogynoir.
Yeah, misogynoir, which is the hatred of black women. That's so stupid. Coming up with new words.
It still sounds something like you'd have sprayed on you when you enter Hudson's Bay. I'm just saying, okay?
I mean, misogynoir. It sounds like some. You know what? That sounds. No, it's funny. It's cute. It sounds like some kind of supervillain, misogynoir. I'm gonna write that down. Like some kind of French black supervillain that just hates women. Hates them.
I invite fan art. I invite fan art of this, because I think it will be hysterical.
Misogynoir. He should have an afro in the shape of a penis head, or a pair of balls.
Yes. Yes. And then we can talk. We can dissect it into how men are supposed to be hairy and women are supposed to be hairless, and they both are part of the patriarchy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. This would be awesome. Okay. This would be amazing. We could do like a series of shows on misogynoir.
Yeah. And a quick comment on the feminism is not a monolith. I know that this is another common argument trotted out by feminists, is that basically there are 1,001 flavors. It's very difficult to put them all under one umbrella because my brand is the good brand. The fact is, that's a poor argument, because all feminism's flavors, all of them, are based on a couple of key principle, foundational ideas: patriarchy, women have it worse in every situation. All cultures and societies and civilizations are judged by how they treat their women. Those are the pillars, at least, there's probably more, of all feminism, all of it. So by that metric, it's all broken in some degree, because all three of those
Yes.
things are either bad ideas or easily debunked. Patriarchy is bullshit. The women have it worse thing is bullshit, because men have their own sets of problems, which feminism doesn't acknowledge. And then, unless they want to say, well, yeah, they have problems, but it's their fault. And then there's the idea that when we have to judge a civilization by how it treats its women, because that's not really, that was something that was coined, and it is something that we tend to do. It's sort of in our nature, but I think that it's something we can also, we can sort of like
Oh, you can step back.
take it
from
down
it.
a notch.
And yeah. You can step back from it. And I've gotten, and this is funny because Antil's in the chat, but that's not why I'm bringing this up. Because I've had some questions about biological determinism and stuff like that. Because I'm something of a biological determinist, but it's not fatalistic. It
No.
doesn't mean this is your future. It means if you know what's going on with you and you have an understanding of it, then you can mitigate it or question it or change your behavior. That's all it is.
Exactly.
I have things I do as a chick that I had to really analyze and go, not analyze, not black anality analyze, but I had to analyze and go, oh shit, I do that, don't I? Fuck, man. And a lot of that had to do with when I had the moment of realizing. And there's this thing. I'm getting off on a bit of a tangent, but I swear to God, it's relevant. If as a woman, and I mean any woman, right? If you cannot acknowledge that you have some advantages in some situations, that you are treated differently, then you are blind. You are willfully blinding yourself, because women do have advantages in some situations. And interestingly enough to me, my big eye-opener for this was when I deliberately stopped showing grief or crying when things happened to me. I mean, I was never a big crier anyway, so it was pretty easy for me, I must say. But when bad things happen, like when a superior is tuning you up and you keep that stoic face, you learn what an approximation of non-female consequences are. Because women do get out of a lot of shit. We just do. We do. But if you acknowledge it and you recognize it and you go, oh shit, okay. When I cry, all these chemical cascades happen in the majority of men who are interacting with me. And that, okay, I understand it now. I'm not saying good or bad. I'm not applying a moral judgment. I'm saying when you understand it, then you can start changing how you interact with the world. And that's all I'm saying. I will say, since stopping my unconscious female gerrymandering of situations, it's kind of sucked. I'm not gonna lie. It's like the lesbian who went around in the world like a guy and she said this sucks. It sucks. Yeah, it really sucks being treated like a guy. I'm just putting that out there.
There is that woman who lived life as a man for like a month, and then she needed like therapy afterwards, because it wasn't as easy as she thought it was going to be.
No.
And I'm right there with you as far as the biological determinism thing. I was just thinking that if you know that old saying, know thyself. I think it's one of the great philosophers said it, like Aristotle, Socrates, or something. And the idea behind that is, if you know what you're prone to doing, what you're prone, how you're sort of programmed to a lesser extent, like biologically, how your lizard brain and your and the rest of your brain, the rest of your brain, the developed brain that we've sort of taken, all these years to evolve. All of that it's not like we have a new brain. It's more like we have our lizard brain, and everything else is like downloadable patches, and so we have, or expansion packs, like on a video game. So basically the lizard brain is still there, and we have, those instincts. And when you know what that is, you recognize it, it actually not only helps you control and mitigate it, but it also helps you understand when you are doing something that you don't really have a problem with, but you want to understand why. For example, if you do something girly, or sort of traditionally feminine, and maybe you ask yourself, well, why am I doing that? Well, if you know that that's a part of just what it means to be a woman, like the biological evolutionary psychological stuff that involves that, then you'll be able to say, oh, well, then that's okay. Or I don't want to do this thing. so I'm going to alter my behavior.
Yeah.
But you get to choose, and you don't have to feel bad about anything. You don't have to blame anybody for it. You don't have
No.
to say, oh, this is my parents' fault, or society's fault, or advertising's fault, or Cosmo's
Patriarchy.
fault, or the patriarchy's fault. You can just be like, that's me. Now that I know that it's me, that means I know I can control it. That means I know I can take responsibility for it, take charge of it, and change it if I want to or not. So
that's all it is.
And it's very liberating.
It is. And it gives you kind of control over your circumstances a bit more, as much as you can. And it's weird because opponents of biological determinism say, well, you're removing control. I think exactly the opposite. I think, no, it's giving you real control, right? Something approximating that anyway.
Yeah.
Because you will understand all of these processes that are happening that normally most people don't even fucking think about. And so, like, for example, for me, knowing that I have a certain physical reaction to certain male and female phenotypes has enabled me to be less stupid around them. Because when I did my video on Sargon of Akkad, I pointed that out. I said, strong, convicted, masculine voices, they have an effect on me. That's why I filter it out consciously to determine if there's actually an argument there. Because I know I hear a strong patriarchal voice and I go, he must be right. And it's not conscious. There's just a little part of my bunny brain that goes, oh, he must be right. And I have to go, no. You have to imagine him like Fran Drescher and examine his argument that way. Exactly. And I find that very liberating. I do. We need to get back to Liana K. But
let's keep going. We're about a minute and 40 seconds in, but don't worry. Okay. We'll be fine. Okay.
Had its layers and its factions, and there's a lot of disagreement within it. But what sort of happened is the sex negative, very reactive, angry, and I don't like doing tone argument things for obvious reasons, but what I call the dork side, Andrea Dwork.
No, it's okay. It's pretty. I was holding it in.
I don't like tone arguments, she says, talking about how we should all just speak to each other nicely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. I wish we would be nice, but I don't like making tone arguments either. Somehow. Okay.
Yeah.
And company, they lost both the legal battle and the hearts and minds battle in the mainstream over pornography. And so they backed off for a decade or two, somewhat, licked their wounds a little, and then hit these subcultures or these pop culture areas where we hadn't had this fight yet. And that's what we're dealing with right now, of the fights that happened over porn in the 70s, moving into the 80s. We're now having about video games and pop culture phenomenon movies. And the frustrating part is it's not that there isn't a point somewhere in there, and it's not that we shouldn't avoid discussing any topic. Thinking something is stupid is not a good enough reason not to have a discussion about it, right? That's
okay. But if somebody calls your opinion moronic because you talk about shit you don't know about, that is reason not to have a discussion, right, Liana? I had to throw that in there because I just, because I've actually asked her to come on, and you guys know the story. She said she wouldn't unless Karen apologized for something that Karen said because Liana was talking out of her ass. So it's funny that she's like, we shouldn't shy away from any conversation.
I thought the same thing when I was watching this, but because I'm not, because I'm still the fucking new guy, the FNG. I'm like, I really should not comment on these past dramas. So, but that was exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, come on and chat with us, honestly. I mean, I'll still insult you, but it's. I mean, maybe I might not, depending. But but no, I will not have a dialogue with you unless you apologize. And yet, dialogue is super important. I'm like, okie dokie.
And I want to go back on this thing where she says, the feminists went away and then they came back because they lost the battle, for against porn or whatever. Sex negative feminists have. I don't think they ever went away. I just think that the internet gave them a voice let's say a louder voice than they previously had, but I think they've always been around, and they've always been talking. I mean, like, I remember this stuff from the '90s, and so it's not like the conversation ended. I just think that, yeah, I mean, okay, here's the thing about porn: you can't beat it. Porn is indestructible. Okay, you cannot beat porn. Period. So that all they did was they overreached and they tried to take on a titan that cannot be defeated. You cannot beat porn. Everyone's tried.
Yes.
It's not going anywhere ever.
If they have to do like wood burnings, there will be porn wood burnings that are shuffled around. All right, like if we have to figure out Morse code porn.
Yeah, you'll never beat porn. And also, feminism goes after
that
porn.
Translates to "do me harder in the pooper." By
Yeah,
the
that's
way.
right.
Just that little
Oh no,
comment I did.
I know that. I
man.
get told that a lot.
Wow.
So
Go on, sorry.
I just heard that the other day.
I'm so sorry. Go on.
So no, it's okay. You gotta know how to speak in code to people, because sometimes they don't really just want to just come out and say it. So,
It's true.
but yeah, no, it's like feminism's been going after porn for probably ever since there was porn. I would guess that there were people that have been trying to take it down. And the ironic thing is, the other sort of group that usually goes after porn, which is the more sort of authoritarian fundamentalist religious types, they're also something that often feminists go after. So it's like they fight each other over the same stuff, and then and they also fight the same stuff, the thing that can't be beaten.
I'm sorry.
It's interesting because this is the thing, porn is never going away and religion is never going away. I don't think either of those things are ever going away. And to some
because they both
extent,
satisfy very primitive voids that people have in their psyches.
yeah. And those are things
So-
we're going back to the lizard brain thing again. Those are things that we'll never really be rid of. I think we just have to learn to live with them. And that's one of the things that I have to say. And I'm going a little bit on a tangent here, but despite the sort of ranty stuff that Dean Esme says, I think he is right that religion is often sort of unfairly treated, because most of the time it's good for people, and I think that we tend to focus on the radical part, and that seems ironic because we're talking about feminism, but the thing about feminism is it has not gone through a reformation. It is something that needs to go through a reformation. And to be quite frank, I don't think that it's necessary.
Don't ask Dean about the Reformation. Just putting that out there. Do not ask him about the Reformation.
Yeah, right.
That's all I'm going to say. All right. Go on.
Okay. Well, anyway, we got a little off topic. So
That's all right.
let's see what she has.
No,
That was the other thing I was going to say. So she says that feminism is now coming after culture, and that's actually why we have a culture war. It's not just feminism. Obviously, there's social justice, but I think that the social justice warriors, which are like the LGBT activists, the race baiters, the race activist types, and the feminists, and the non-gender, non-binary, just whiny piss babies, and the communists and all that, I think that feminism is leading the charge in the culture war. I think it's actually right in the middle of it, and everything else has sort of been spun out from it. It's like this, it's a virus. It just grows in people's brains, and they learn it in college, and then they go out and become activists for a living. And it's always been a culture war, because there have always been people saying, well, why aren't there more, female characters in this? Why are these people too sexy? I mean, they that Wonder Woman, the fictional character, not Linda Carter, was made an unofficial ambassador for women's rights and equality by the UN. The UN gave Wonder Woman, a fictional character, a chair at the UN. Okay, this really happened.
This.
But then,
and it was rescinded.
They fired her. So then Wonder Woman got canned, and the reason is because she's too attractive and white. So too like unfair beauty standards.
Greek.
And white. No,
Greek.
Greek is white to them. Basically, if you're a person of color, has to be like black, Hispanic, Asian, Indian, or native. Anything else is just white. If you're even Greek people are just white to them. And besides the fact that they usually cast white women to play them, or in the case of Gal Gadot, she's Israeli. So I guess I don't know. I don't know. Like I don't know.
Echo.
Are we getting an echo?
Yeah, with the Israeli, I don't know.
Oh yeah,
I'm just,
She is Israeli, which is another weird choice. Nobody complained about that. I thought they'd try to find like a nice, hirsute Greek woman to play him, but yeah, no, she's white as far as her. I think.
I had to mute. That was awesome. You just slide them in, Brian. You're like a ninja. You just slide it in, and it takes like beat, and I'm like, oh my god, what did you just say? It's brilliant. Go on.
I don't know if they've decided that Gal Gadot, because she's Israeli, I don't know if they've decided that's a minority or just white again. I guess it depends on whether or not they like them. I honestly don't know what SJWs think of Jews. I don't know what they think of them yet.
I just asked somebody that. There's somebody I chat with on Twitter, and he's very well versed politically. But I said, what is the actual deal? Because I don't understand. Because it's like this huge giant mountain of cloud Olympus that I cannot see through, and I'm trying to separate the wheat from the chaff. And right now I'm just like, meh. Because there's so much rhetoric on all sides. But what is the actual issue? And he's helping me, because it's not like I'm unfamiliar with global politics, right? But there's when you get down to it, because I was introduced to it, of course. Well, you've got Israel and Palestine and blah 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 in the Gaza Strip, and I'm like, okay, I got that, I understand that. And then you get wider out from that into like Hollywood and like statues of weird gods, and I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. I have none.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. And the ADL and Edgy Sphinx come in here now, and I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea anything. Okay.
I have no opinion on the Jewish people.
No.
Or the Hebrew faith.
Nor do I. I'm like, I don't know, because
Yeah.
I don't know. I like Professor Saad. I don't know. He's apparently an evil Jew. I don't know.
mean, they're very much in support of Islam, so they may be anti-Jew, but I don't know. Maybe they should ask.
I can't even
They
tell.
should probably email Soros personally and find out, what do we believe, dude? Tell us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell
Anyway.
us. Okay. Anyway.
Speaking
Speaking of Jews, shall we continue?
Yes. Oh yeah, Liana K.
See, I got
That's
one
an
in
intellectual
now.
shortcut. The problem is we can't have a discussion because everything is, I got so angry I made a sign, right? It's two
Right.
people, it's two groups, hopefully just two groups, usually more than that, shouting past each other, as opposed to sitting down and having a conversation. And we could get into the structural reasons for that, but that is a deep dive.
No, not that deep, Liana K. I will answer it really quick right now. We feminists do not talk to people who can destroy their arguments. That's the reason why we're talking past each other, as you put it. I don't know any anti-SJW people, and I know this is anecdotal, but I bet that there's a consistent thread of this across all of them. I don't know any one of them that would not be absolutely delighted to debate a feminist. But the problem is that feminists most of the time won't do it. If you guys want to see something great, okay, Cassie J, go. If you're not subbed to her channel, do it now. Or no, not right now. After the show is over, and after you've bought tickets for the Red Pill screening in Chicago, which is January 11th. It's not a big deal, but if you just feel like doing it, just throwing that in there. It's a good movie. If you go to Cassie J, she has a post, the post Q&A for the world premiere of the Red Pill in New York City. And Michael Kimmel, who is a male feminist, a professor, an academic, I think he has his PhD, he's written books, he's appeared on documentaries such as The Mask You Live In. He was there. And because he was there and he had to do the Q&A, he could not avoid talking to Karen and all the other sort of MRAs that also appeared. And if you watch that, you can see how uncomfortable Michael Kimmel is being there and how uncomfortable he is with talking with them because they destroyed his arguments. He even plugged The Mask You Live In and everyone groaned and like in the audience because they'd seen it and they know. I mean, we had just done like a 3-part fucking sort of Rant Zerker series on it. It's a painful movie to watch because it blames men for everything. It blames men for the reason why they have problems. And Kimmel's like, it's compassionate and stuff. Well, no, not an argument. So this is the reason that we talk past each other is because most of the time feminists won't talk to us They don't want to give them the platform. They're trying to shut down any discussion. If they have the ability to do it, they will do it. So, Liana, that's why. It's not because nobody wants to talk to each other. It's because your side doesn't want to talk to anyone, including you, by the way.
And not to get a bit cunty, but I'm going to get a bit cunty.
Do it.
I have not had a good track record with trying to actually debate feminists. And I mean like actually debate, because I inevitably make them cry, or they tell me my tone is wrong or I'm too harsh and they don't like my language. And then it's over because they've got hurt feelings. And to me, as somebody who a bit of a nerd, I mean I've done debating for much of my life. I mean, when you're a lawyer's kid, you learn how to do this shit, right? And but in actual debate, no matter what I do, I end up hurting someone's feeling, and then they go on a 3-hour Twitter rant. I mean, hypothetically. So, and no, not relevant at all. But honestly, you can't do that. You can't, because either I hurt their feelings, and they say this conversation is over, or they say, well, you're just a racist, or you're just blah 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 blah, or they apply some like block, like the things in Super Mario Brothers. They just come down and you're done. Well, you're a racist, therefore you were wrong. Here's a bunny with a pancake on its head. And I try and say, well, that may be so, but my argument is this. What do you have to say about that? It never ends well. And maybe it's a sign that I'm getting a bit burned out, but my desire to actually debate feminists, I mean, if you put Camille Paglia in front of me, yeah, fuck, let's go. That'd be amazing. But
I don't think you guys would disagree on very much, though.
Oh no, no. But we might disagree on a few points.
Yeah.
But I don't think she'd run away with her tail between her legs, saying I hurt her twat. You know, I didn't kick her in the taco, and that is so frustrating to me, because the second that stuff comes into it, it's over. Discussion is over. The second, well, you're just a racist, you're a sexist, you're a misogynist, you're a transphobe, blah blah blah. You are done. The debate is done. You can't progress from that. The second someone says, well, I don't like your tone and you've hurt my feelings, so I'm done with you. Well, you can't progress past that. And it seems like a waste of my time right now. I would sit down with Liana K in good faith right now.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do it. But even in class, even in school, I have tried to debate. I have tried to say, I would like to do a debate, like Professor Peterson did. Let's have a debate on this. And it is shut down. It is no.
Yeah.
And I don't understand this. So to hear Liana K say, well, we need more dialogue. We're just talking past each other. Why is that?
Well,
right?
I think
Because
that she would argue that people aren't being nice enough. Because, like, basically, the way that we're talking right now, she would probably find that to be overly aggressive, and therefore it's not the right way to do it, because we should all be nice. Also, I think that she believes that there is a middle ground that is right in the middle of, like, our views and her views. And the fact is, the correct position on any given topic is not necessarily the one that's right in the middle. So for people who like to fence sit, you might want to look and see how correct that position is, because I don't think it is.
But
Go ahead.
It raises my freckles, Brian, to hear someone, and again, I have nothing personal against Liana, but it raises my freckles to hear someone say, well, we need to stop talking past each other and we need to have a real debate, when she has said, calling me out on my potential bias, well, that's insulting and I won't respond to that. I'm like, well, what? But that's a legitimate point if they can back it up. You oh my God. And you don't tone police, do you? Really? Anyway, this is what frustrates me. Because, and we've been through this in our other Liana K videos. Sometimes she comes out with stuff and I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. That's a good point. And then she comes out with this other stuff and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
And the sound of a toilet flushing is heard in the background. Yeah.
Bawoosh. Okay, here we go.
Anyway, let's.
Yeah, so when you talk about it going from the 70s and the demonization of porn and how it shifted into video games, and a lot of the same arguments can be made about how they, demonized violence, violent movies, probably, in the 70s.
We did that in the 90s.
Right,
yeah.
and then we shifted it. We shifted it to Mortal Kombat in the 90s. But on the female front, like when I was playing not Mortal Kombat, when I was playing Grand Theft Auto on PlayStation, and you could just, and I never really played to accomplish anything. I just was driving into things and blowing things up and whatever, and I never got very far in the game, but I had fun. When you could grab someone out of the car and punch them or whatever, I could see a woman watching that and say, wait a minute, you're grabbing a woman out of the car, punching her in the face and stealing her car, that's anti-woman. I can understand why they would say that, but to me that would be very misguided because...
No, Ruben, no.
my God.
You're wrong. You're wrong. I'm sorry. Wrong. You're wrong for a few reasons, Dave. Just because maybe I'm gonna try to be charitable with what he's saying, but I
You're always
can't. I can't actually do it easily. When Dave Rubin says, I can understand why people would say that, I disagree. No, I don't understand why somebody would say that. When you have a game where everyone knows you can kill anybody you want, including men, and any bystander. And yeah, that's what a lot of people do on Grand Theft Auto. They just drive around and they create chaos. And the reason is because it's fun. They like to see what happens. They like to see the world react to what they're doing. You know, that's how you get your... I mean, when I first started playing Grand Theft Auto, I remember the goal of me and my friends was to see how fast you can get to 5 stars so that they're sending the army after you, and then how long you can live before they get you. So you start committing mass murder immediately, running over as many people as possible, and then, you know, after a while, I think it's the highest level, it's the army, or maybe it's the FBI cars. I haven't played that in a long, long time. But... you know, that's the goal. And that means men, women, whatever. I mean, that's probably the reason why, if you've ever noticed, I don't know if the newest Grand Theft Auto changed this, but that's probably the reason why I would guess that for the longest time, if you notice in all the Grand Theft Auto worlds, at least up to Grand Theft Auto 4, children don't exist. There's only adults. There are no children and there are no pets. Like, you don't see people walking their dogs, and you don't see stray cats walking around, or even like pigeons, or anything like that, and at least not that I recall. And I'm guessing that the reason is because, you know, maybe they think that that's like running over a nun pushing a baby carriage is a little bit too, that's going too far. I don't know. I think it'd be funny. Maybe Saints Row needs to get on that, but
yeah.
Well, they're not real. I mean, you know, it's...
No?
It should
I think
be...
a nun pushing a baby carriage may have some explaining to do, Lucy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
she's
she's
that out there.
It's an orphan, and she's taking care of
Oh,
it.
it's an orphan.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
So
not
you are you mansplaining to me? Seriously,
I'm
right
just
now?
coming up with the, yeah, or maybe like a school bus full of nuns. I don't know.
All singing. That'd be amazing.
Oh yeah, it's the National Guard. Thank you. That's what you get at 5 stars.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think that I mean, you know, so apparently GTA does not want to see, you know, toddlers and children getting run over or gunned down or whatever. But adults is okay. So if we can, I think that if it would seem to me that if feminists had their way, GTA would only be populated by men, so that when you kill them, nobody can feel bad about it.
Of
Which
course.
would not make sense. It basically become Dynasty Warriors. So- anyway.
Oh my god.
All right.
Yeah,
Let's.
no.
You want to comment on that?
Oh well, I have my notes are for a bit later. I just realized I never answered your question. So briefly, what do I think of Dave Rubin? I think he serves a purpose. I think having a wide variety of people on his show is kind of his thing. It's what he does. He's not a hard-hitting interviewer. I don't think that's what he brands himself as. So it is what it is. I certainly don't I don't think less of him for having Liana K on. I don't also think that he necessarily agreed with her, right? Rubin has this kind of way of seeming to agree with you, and he's not. He just wants to get you to talk more, and he's very good at it. He's very charming, and he's very good at it, and it's part of what makes a good interviewer for that particular style of interview. So I watch Dave Rubin. I like Dave Rubin, but he does have a certain. I mean, this is what he does. He gets a whole bunch of different people on his show, and then fans of those people come and give him likes and money, and that's what he does. And maybe every so often something comes out of it, and that's great. But this is his thing. He just wants to get as many people's opinions out there as he can, and that's his thing. So the second thing is, question from the chat: what the fuck are feckles? It's a Red Dwarf reference. You know, feckles, hackles. I don't know what they are, but they're up and pointed straight at you, buddy. So that is where Feckles comes from. And finally, with regard to Grand Theft Auto, I cannot wait to get to the part about the hose. So
let us continue. I will say this about Dave Rubin is a point I meant to make earlier. He had a guest on named Andrew Klavan. I watch a lot of the interviews, and Andrew Klavan is an atheist that became a Christian. And when they were talking, Dave Rubin did go in a bit on him. Like, at least he challenged him. He said, okay, because I believe Dave Rubin is an atheist, and he's like, I'm going to have to push back here. I want you to explain yourself. I want you to justify this argument. And that's fine. Like, Andrew Klavan backed it up fine. He made his case. That's cool. But my point is this: he pushed back on him, but he doesn't push back on her. And I don't know if it's because he felt like being nice or whatever. I would have pushed back. But maybe, and this is the thing that I'm thinking, maybe Dave Rubin doesn't know as much about feminism as enough to necessarily challenge Liana K on that. So maybe he didn't feel confident enough to say, well, wait a minute, feminism was never great. Here are some examples. My guess is that he's in that same belief system, which I brought up before, where most people, atheist types, anti-SJW types that I've noticed, have made the argument, well, feminism was good back in the day. It was necessary. Yeah, it was necessary. But today it's kind of useless,
But so interesting you say this, Brian, because if you look at Liana's comments section for her interview with Rubin, they thought she was too soft on him. So it's like this giant circle jerk of everybody being too nice, and I gotta wonder where that comes from. But it's a style thing, right? So yeah, because I actually don't go around downvoting people that I think are perhaps worth downvoting all the time, but like, you have to really say some shit that I'm like, okay, what are you doing here, before I downvote. And so far that has not happened with Liana K, honestly.
I don't think I've ever downvoted a video once.
Exactly, right?
It's not because I don't I like them. I just don't. I don't even want to waste my time clicking the thing, and I just don't bother.
No, exactly. Why would I even? But his comment section, why would you have her on? You were too soft on her. Her comment section, why were you so soft on him? So I thought it was very funny, actually, if you look at both of them. Yeah. Anyway, onto the hose.
Okay, onto the hose.
Hose.
I never did it like I was hunting down a woman. I treated a woman the exact way I would treat a man in the video game world, which is I grab them out of their car and I punch them. So I think you're with me on that, in terms of that you would want women to be treated the same way.
Dave Rubin is for domestic violence against women, confirmed. Okay, continuing.
In a game, right?
My big wish for the Grand Theft Auto series that Rockstar just starts giving the prostitutes weapons, because that solves all the problems. I mean, the problem right now is, I think
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. Okay, Liana K says that the Rockstar should give the hoes weapons so that they can defend themselves. And she thinks it would solve, what does she call it? All the problems?
All the problems.
There are no problems. There are problems with people. There are people who complain. Those people who complain don't play Grand Theft Auto. Those people complain from the outside, and they say, I don't like this because that. And I'm going to prove it to you by getting it banned in Australia at Target or something. But they don't play the game. So if they don't play the game, there actually isn't a problem, because it's still selling like hotcakes and everybody's waiting for the next one. So clearly it's not affecting the sales. So that's not a problem. Giving the hoes weapons, though.
Yeah, see, and from my perspective, I'm actually, I hate to agree with her in this, but I am all for giving the prostitutes weapons, because that way when I beat the shit out of them, I might get an ammo drop. It's brilliant!
Or they could just drop ammo.
That's what I mean. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, yeah, give the hoes weapons. It's ammo. Come on. That may not be her perspective. I may be approaching things from a different perspective. I don't know. So. Well,
she makes another argument for it in a moment, but I think that giving the hose guns is a step too far and not necessary. But we'll get into that in a second, because she tries to do this analysis. Well, let's keep going.
It's too easy to kill these women.
It's too easy to kill these women. Now, in Grand Theft Auto, it's too easy to kill anybody.
I was just going to say, it's not just the women.
No, it's too easy to kill most people. It only becomes a challenge once the cops show up. But even then, they're not that hard to kill either if you have like a decent fucking aim system. You know, so it's not too easy. Like, too easy compared to what?
I think she has in her head this like Frank Miller Sin City ho neighborhood. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, right. She wants
Like,
that. She wants that
yeah.
that district that's owned by prostitutes that have guns and like throw
Yeah.
shurikens and fight with katanas.
I know, and they
shit.
were ninjas.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Ninja
Yeah.
bitches.
Ninja bitch. Yeah. We
Okay.
don't need no pimp. Okay, go on.
that you've just obtained the services are for your own benefit.
Okay,
Uh,
whoa. Okay, I gotta interrupt here for 1 second. People do understand that, at least from a non-SJW perspective, that prostitution is a two-way thing, right? I mean, people do understand that it is a service, a good and service. I mean, she has said, let's not be sex negative, but there are aspects of sex work that are tremendously exploitative, and there is a lot of overlap with drug trade. However, then you've got women who choose to do it, and they're quite content with what they're doing. So,
Oh,
to say that women get nothing out of voluntary prostitution, you know, I mean, like consensual voluntary. I am choosing this.
Yeah, it's like any other sort of free market capitalist thing. It's probably some of the freest, except for the fucking illegal part, where it's like, I have money and I want vagina. Do you have a vagina that you're willing to give me, and I give you money? And she says, yes, I happen to have a vagina, and I'm not doing anything with it right now, and I actually want that money. And he's like, well, how about I give you this money and you give me that vag? And she says, okay, that sounds good. That it's a win-win. They both get what they want.
And I'm probably colored by my clinic time, right? Because we definitely had women that were in servitude, who were drug addicted, I would not consider this a consensual choice, right? But we did have women for whom it was. And so I would not want to say, no, every woman who is choosing to do this is somehow a victim of patriarchy. And you are getting nothing out of it. I'm like, I don't know, they make more a week than I have like my whole life. So, and they're pretty clean about it, and they're doing it voluntarily, and they're not drug addicted. So I don't know. And then we're getting into vice politics, right? But I will say I've seen both types. So I would be real careful about saying that sex workers do not ever get anything out of it.
No.
Anyway.
All right, let's keep going.
Yes.
In Grand Theft Auto, a police officer will have a gun they can shoot back.
Well, yeah, because they do. But like, if you like, if there were firemen and you started killing them, they wouldn't have a gun because firemen don't carry guns. Although I think they should have axes. I think that'd be okay.
Prostitutes, for whatever reason, in this very dangerous city, don't have tasers, don't have guns, don't have pepper spray. That's the real issue with.
No, it's not stupid. All right, let me tell you why that's stupid.
Okay, go.
Grand Theft Auto was never meant to be a simulator, so it was never meant to be a real place. If Liana K's logic behind why the prostitutes should be given weapons is that they live in a super dangerous world, which is the world of GTA, then by that same logic, most citizens would also be armed. Most of them, because they live in the same really brutally dangerous world. The thing about GTA is that people, I don't know why she doesn't get this. It's a satire of a real world. It's like an exaggerated, over the top, intentionally comedically ridiculous version of an urban sprawl, as it were. Like whether it's Vice City or it's Liberty City, I guess that was like the New York one, or San Andreas. These places are meant to be exaggeratedly violent and crime-ridden, and at the same time hilarious. That's why the radio is so funny. That's why the interactions with NPCs is so funny. I mean, like, people that get into random car accidents, you know, like just NPCs or whatever, and then they get out and start fist fighting. And that happens all the time in GTA. But here's the thing: in real life, it doesn't happen that frequently. Like, but if you wanted this to be a simulator, if you wanted it to be more realistic, would it really be that much fun to witness a car crash in Grand Theft Auto and have the two people get out and start taking each other's insurance information? That would be boring as shit. And then the cops show up and they end up talking to them, and then they're just like, there's just like cars parked, and then there a bunch of rubberneckers come out and just look. I mean, that'd be dull.
Your tags are expired.
Yeah.
No, like.
No, I mean, when
so
you
know.
When you break a law in GTA, the cops come for you like you've murdered someone, and they will chase you for blocks. And if they catch you, they're either going to kill you or you're going to end up going to jail. And then you get out like later that day or some shit. I mean, it's not meant to be real. So to make the claim that, you know, in this dangerous world, a prostitute would carry a gun or taser or mace is a little bit silly, because it's a silly ass world. I mean, the pimps, actually, I don't even know if there are pimps in the newer ones, but the pimps didn't carry guns either, as far as I understood it. And you can just beat the shit out of them. I mean, you can beat people to death in that game and leave them on the street, and other people would just scream and run. Okay. Yeah. And then pick up their money. So it was never meant to be real. I mean, come on. The simulator argument for games. It's a stupid one, especially when the game is not intended to be real, and GTA is not. I mean, it never was. So it's stupid. It's supposed to be hilarious.
The cop chases you down and gives you a ticket.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god.
You have to report to court now on this day. Don't miss it, or they'll send you more letters. And they'll raise the price.
Side quest, get a suit. You know, like, really? Okay, no, but we need to get to the victims and leaders, because this is delicious. And I feel bad looking at her face this way, because she's actually very pretty. So, yeah, she looks derpy here. This is
okay,
rude.
let's keep going.
Continue.
It's making them articficially helpless in a world where it doesn't make sense.
Artificially. They are not real women. Yeah. They are pixels on the screen. That's what they are. They're not real. That's like saying that, again, by the same logic, the men and women who are not prostitutes in the same world are also artificially helpless, where it would not make sense, because if they really lived in a world that brutal, they would either be working really hard to move the fuck out, or they would be carrying guns. And I mean, like, most citizens would probably be carrying guns. There would also be children, and there would also be babies, and there'd be pets, and there'd be nuns, and like priests, and hippies, like playing guitar in the corner, and I don't know, you know,
people
immigrants.
There already are. I don't know. That may actually happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's not meant to be simulator, Liana. This is bad. This is a bad argument. Anyway.
Okay, go on. Go.
Not so much you can punch a woman in the face. Because I don't have issues with that, because if you know, you look at the real world, women are fighting to get frontline combat in the armed services, full status in the police, mixed martial arts, you know, UFC, women punch and kick each other in the face for a living. We're getting into this benevolent sexism territory that is...
Wait, isn't that what she's calling for, though?
I was just going to say, is it not benevolent sexism to specifically arm the women and not any of the other civilians? I don't know. My brain hurts a little bit here, but that may just be me. So it's exam time. But yeah, is not benevolent sexism going, yeah, we need to give the female fictional characters in a fictional world extra advantages that other characters don't have. Yeah, NPCs like, don't have?
They don't even have names. Like, according to, like, that's, you know, now they're going to call for every prostitute and every woman in the next GTA game has to have a name. She has to have a backstory. She has to carry weapons, and that has to be like tied to her backstory in some way. Like, oh, my dad gave me the switchblade, you know, when he was pimping.
It's engraved.
Yeah, it's like special. It's got ivory handle on it.
A pimp name Slickback written on it. Yeah. There we go. Treating fictional female characters in a video game they serve no purpose outside of just another fun way to interact, just like going bowling, playing pool, going to the strip club, or whatever. As you're treating them like a special kind of person is benevolent sexism. You're saying that because they're women, they need to be treated differently. No.
Still very little understood. And this idea that, we think it's great that we should hold us all to a higher conduct standard when it comes to women. But it's really not, because you can't see someone as a victim and a leader at the same time. And all these arguments, all these debates, this wringing of hands and clutching of pearls against why aren't there more women leaders? Well, that's why. Because if we continue to think that women need protection from ideas and words in a world that is very technologically driven, and gadgets solve a lot of the physical imbalances that made this an issue in the past and made
gadgets made by men
chivalry a thing, right? We cannot be treated in the same standard as a male CEO or a male political leader or, you know, even a male villain, if we're seen as this thing inherently needed protection, it can't work. It's shearing. It's crossing the streams.
Yeah.
Right?
Drink. Drink.
All right, so
I'm drinking. It's just water today, though. It's
I am sad for you. I mean, when she says, you know, that we shouldn't treat women like a special class of person, I don't disagree with that sentiment at all. But I also wonder how she just said that with all the shit that she said just before that and the shit she's going to say after that. Like
exactly. We can't treat them as victims, but let's take them and give them extra weapons so they're not victims. So they, I mean, it's so bad.
It's weird.
And by the way, I am watching the chat, so for benefit of the chat, math is hard. There you go. Yeah, thinking is hard, math is hard. There you go. But yeah, she does this victim and leader thing, and this is in her other videos as well. The assertion that women are only not leaders because of portrayals, and it's looking for environmental causes for women not being in leadership, as opposed to perhaps looking at the women and going, this is what you need to be a leader. Why aren't you doing it? Because there are women who have achieved leadership far beyond your ham-fisted, clumsy efforts to advocate for them when they really would rather your name did not come out of their fucking mouth ever. And how did they do it? Really?
Mm-hmm.
But prostitutes in video games, that's why there aren't more women leaders.
Yeah, that's why.
Like,
because we're
that's
benevolently sexist towards fictional
man.
prostitute NPCs in video games that you can beat up and can't defend themselves. Oh, I got it!
Yeah.
Now we know how to fix all the problems. Since Rockstar won't do it, you guys that made the Saints Row series, you fix it. All right. Well, anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, that's a Ghostbusters reference.
That's a Ghostbusters.
You're
And
not-
unfortunately, it's a bad metaphor, unfortunately, because crossing the streams was actually good at the end. But, you know, we ended up having to fight a giant marshmallow monster, and that's a really unfortunate joke if you think about it some ways in this context.
Keep your hate speech off this campus.
Don't make me do the arms. I don't have a lot of room here.
Oh, Liana K has a problem with overweight feminists confirmed. She is what are you, sizist? Is that what they call it? She's not body positive.
I think that is confirmed
She
later
did-
with Black
She,
Widow.
yeah,
So,
as well. She's a little bit all over the place when it comes to that. She's all over the place. But let's. I'm just making a joke, Liana. Chill out. Enhance your calm. Okay.
So let's not go there.
Yeah, I see what you did there, though.
Yeah.
You know, as you're saying this, it reminds me. So I'm curious. Did you see Mad Max Fury Road?
Uh-huh.
So
Oh shit, we're gonna get into
Here
this
we
now.
go. Let's
Well,
go. Everybody
absolute-
pour yourself a drink, because it's going to get fun up in here.
we loved it. I thought it was probably the best action movie in like 30 years. And when I walked out of there, I thought it was just great. And then I heard somebody say in the theater as we walked out about how, you know, Charlize Theron is really the hero of the story and all that.
Yeah.
And I hadn't even thought about it that way. I thought she was a good guy and Mad Max was a good guy and they did their thing.
Okay, I want to quickly comment on that. I have a lot of opinions on Fury Road. But before we get into it, I gotta say this because I know the chat's gonna come after me. I liked the movie. I liked it a lot. I thought it was good. I don't know, you know, Rubin said the best action movie in 30 years. I'm sure there's way better ones. The 80s was chock full of great fucking movies. But, you know, barring that, I thought it was a really good movie. But when he says he was surprised to learn that Furiosa was the main character and he thought it was like a team-up movie, like they were a pair, I'm surprised that he somehow came to that conclusion, considering Mad Max barely says anything. His mouth is shut for like half the film, and even when he talks, he doesn't say much. And people have told me, they've tried to make the argument that, well, that's sort of normal for his movies. No, it's not. If you watch the first three, he actually has way more lines, and that includes The Road Warrior, which up until this last movie was the best of those movies. And I'm not saying that Fury Road is better than Road Warrior. I think I put them kind of on par with each other. They're pretty close.
Road Warrior was a lot of like staring intensifies. It was a lot of
Yeah, like a
landscape shots
Western.
and
Like a
yeah,
Western,
It was.
yeah.
It was. This is where I haven't seen it. I haven't seen Fury Road.
Oh, okay.
And I did that quite deliberately, because at the time that it came out, and I'm a big Mad Max fan. Don't get me wrong, but at the time it came out, there was so much hue and cry about it, especially on Return of Kings, which I do like peek at every once in a while because like you do. And there was so much backlash and so much talk about it, and it actually soured me a little on it because everyone had opinions and none of it seemed to be about the fucking movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I don't care about the subtext, I don't care about the gender roles, I don't care. Is it a fucking entertaining movie I am going to pay $30 to fucking see? That's all I care about. And
Is that how much it costs to see a movie in Canada?
Well, it is if you bring someone with you.
Oh, yeah, right, for 2 tickets.
It's
Yeah.
and they want popcorn, and you're trying to do the popcorn surprise. Where you cut a hole.
Is that like a sexual thing? The popcorn surprise?
Yes, it is the popcorn surprise.
I'm gonna pop
Never
some
mind.
corn
Anyway,
tonight.
anyway,
I'm gonna pop my corn on the cob.
So this is more than you need to know, and why nobody goes to the movies with me anymore. So it was a bad book club idea. It was bad. So those bitches are uptight. Okay, but I haven't seen it, so a lot of this for me was just sort of listening and paying attention. But I'm really interested in your perspective because you have seen it. So I will shoot now.
I'll get to that when they talk about it. But the one thing I will point out is that this Mad Max movie, Charlize Theron is. Even though they gave Tom Hardy, I think he's like in the credits, he comes first, as though he's like the star. Charlize Theron's the star. She's the one that drives the movie forward. Mad Max is kind of along for the ride, and inevitably he does help out. But it's not like it was in The Road Warrior or Beyond Thunderdome, where he partners with, people or an individual or whatever to help solve the problem. But he is as instrumental, if not more so, than the original, than the people before he came along. This is more like he just kind of joins along. And again, I thought the movie was great. But I'm not going to ignore what the subtext contains, which we're going to get into. So I'm just putting that out there. But let's see where they go.
But I would suspect that she probably, although the way you're nodding your head, maybe you're not going to agree with me, that she really is sort of the perfect, in that character as a woman is probably the perfect female character for a movie, right? Because she was badass. She used Mad Max to hold the gun at that great moment. Instead of him using her to shoot, she used him. That she was a boss and in charge of saving all these people. That she really was sort of the perfect female character in that it was full and unapologetic and all that.
All right, I want to critique Dave Rubin here. Liana does kind of take his statement as literal as possible and then runs with that. I think that him using the term perfect was probably a misnomer, and he shouldn't have. If I was Dave and I was asking that question, I wouldn't have called it perfect. I might have said ideal. I might have said a really good example of a strong female character, maybe one that feminists would laud. I think that he is correct in terms of what people would take away from Charlize Theron, her portrayal. And it's not the first time that Charlize Theron has played a character that goes against her own sexual market value. Because Charlize Theron is a fucking 10, okay? That's a hot woman. But she has played characters unattractive. Like, have you ever seen the film Monster, where she plays like this repulsive-looking lesbian woman? I was surprised that she was playing this character. It was really good. Same thing goes for this case. Not that Furiosa is ugly, but she's not sort of, she's missing an arm, and she's kind of like got grease on her face, and she's not.
You can't make Charlize Theron look really sow pig. Like, she's never going to be a dumpster fire, though, right?
No, you can't. She can.
Even when she was Eileen, whatever, Wernitz, or whatever the fuck her name was, the serial killer, she was still fuckable.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. There's some guy in a dive bar that would have been like, I'd hit that. And I'm not saying but I'm saying when you saw it, you were just like, oh, wow. And the thing is, I give Charlize credit because I think that her willingness to play that role and not politicize it either, by the way. Charlize Theron, as far as I know, hasn't done anything like that where it's like, I'm going against gender stereotypes. She was just like, I'd like to play that. and I'll get into makeup, so that you don't have to cast fucking Kathy Bates. So I give her credit where credit is due, and I'd say the same thing about this. So, but yeah, I would say that I probably wouldn't use the word perfect because now Liana runs with that. But let's see what she says.
Yeah, I mean, Furiosa was the movie was fun, right? It was a 2-hour car chase. And I think people have made altogether too much of this film.
Okay, I'm going to disagree with that slightly as well, because she tries to dismiss this film as being made out to be overly politicized when it shouldn't be. And I don't necessarily agree with it, because just saying, oh, it was a 2-hour car chase doesn't necessarily dismiss the fact that there were some elements in it, in the narrative, and even in the world building just for this film, which were pretty feminist. I mean, because they did have a feminist on board, as I think she was part of the creative team, I'm fairly certain. I don't know that she wrote it, but I think she may have co-written it or something.
Oh, I know who you're talking about, and it's on the tip of my tongue, but yeah.
She was involved with the production of the film.
She talks a lot about vaginas.
Yeah.
Eve Ensler.
Eve Ensler, the vagina monologues person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I hate myself.
I think that's Eve Ensler. If we're wrong, Chad, just correct us. But.
Yeah, Jet. Yeah.
But
oh, no.
She was on. She helped write the movie. She helped with the story and the concept and stuff. And it shows in what they did. So I think to dismiss it out of hand as, oh, well, it was a car chase and I don't know why they're making a big deal out of it. That's like no. That's I don't know if you're playing a sleight of hand thing, or if you didn't see it and therefore it's not there, because in the world of Liana K, if she sees it, it's real, and if she doesn't, it's not. But I think that to miss out on that is not doing it a service, because you could also make the argument that Terminator is just a chase movie too. And because that is...
Which one, really?
Both Terminator 1 and 2. They're both just chase movies, because the Terminator is coming for somebody, and they have to, run from the Terminator and try to kill it in the meantime. But that's not what the Terminator is about,
No, I mean, and the first one, it's a chase story, but it's also a love story and a time travel story. Mm-hmm. And then the second one is just basically really disturbing and nihilistic. So, and fabulous, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And I would put Chase more in number 2, just because there's more panouts. That's my only thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's more
cinematography,
running.
Right?
But and the first one was a bit, because it was lower budget. It was a bit more intimate, I guess, but it was certainly more personal. But it was.
I love you, Hicks. I mean Connor. I mean Hicks. I mean he blurs together for me. Okay.
Yeah.
He really does.
But I would say that people could make the argument that Terminator movies are just chase movies or just action movies, but
yes.
they're about artificial intelligence, killing all of humanity, and the dangers of war and all this other shit. And it's also about is the future, what do they call it, can it be changed? Can you change your future? Are you destined for whatever can you change fate? So it is more than that, but a person who wants to just boil it down and be like, you're just making a big deal out of nothing. Well, I'm sorry, but I watch too many movies to miss out on what as you put it, what the subtext is. So, and I'll get, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, there's nothing wrong with looking at subtext. For me, if I'm watching a movie just to analyze its subtext, though, I'd better be marked on it. Mm-hmm. But I want to watch a movie. I don't mind looking at subtext. I think that happens organically a lot of the time, especially when you start looking for Easter eggs and starting to relate things. But I certainly would never watch it going into it going, I'm going to totally analyze this in a Marxist feminist way. And I think that's a really good way to suck the fun out of everything. So
yeah.
Yeah. So it's fine to look at it, but it's I don't know. That's not why I go to the movies myself. So it's why I would write a paper in fucking class.
Yeah, I usually just go for the fun or whatever it is I'm expecting, but I usually take something away from it too. And I actually find that to add more, for me anyway, it actually makes it more interesting to think about.
Well, yeah, but that's the organic thing. When you come out of it and it's the refrigerator moment when a day later you go, oh, I get it now. That's what they were talking about. But you can't ruin it by going into it. Have you seen the IT Crowd? The Korean zombie movie, and he keeps saying it's Moss and the German. Don't spoil the ending. Oh, there's a twist. Let's talk about the twist. Let's speculate on the twist. And Roy's like, no, let's not speculate on the twist. and it ends with him slapping a policeman who's about to give away the twist. That's me. I'm Roy.
Yeah.
I'm like, shut up, let me see it. Shut up. Yeah.
All right, let's keep going.
Yeah.
There were elements about it that you could say were exceptionally feminist. There were other elements of it where it's like,
I don't know what means.
Haven't seen the movie, can't comment.
I will. This is what I would say as far as the feminist thing, because this has actually been a discussion, and a lot of people who enjoyed Mad Max Fury Road wanted to dismiss, ignore, or otherwise fight against the idea that it's a feminist film. Because they didn't want to, I think it's because a lot of people didn't want to enjoy a film that had feminism in it. So they were like fighting against that idea. And I acknowledge that it's there, but I still enjoyed the film despite that. And I'm okay with sort of like being a bit, I wouldn't even call it critical, but just acknowledging that it's there. It's like, they say, oh, well, that's there. Because here's the thing. Hollywood is overwhelmingly feminist. Like they believe in it's a feminist environment, and you know that because you can measure the rule by its exceptions. So how many people in Hollywood are not feminists or anti-feminists or conservatives? Those people stick out like a sore thumb. So you know that the rest of it generally is okay with that stuff.
I follow a man named Nick Searcy on Twitter, and he is in Hollywood. I think he did the show Justified. I don't remember, but anyway, and he is a like absolute bullshit calling. Yes, Hollywood is absolutely leftist. Hollywood is absolutely feminist. And he points it out when he sees it, and he tells tales about it, and I love him because people keep threatening to say, "You'll never work in this town again." And he's like, I invested my money. I don't ever need to work in this fucking town again. So I love him. But that gives me some insight. Just because we can look at things peripherally, and we can look at magazines, and obviously there's a feminist perspective in Hollywood. But hearing it from somebody who's in it, I really like as well. Someone who, and not to bring up Pizzagate, but it's the inevitable Pizzagate mention. Woo! When you get Corey Feldman going, yeah, this is what Hollywood's like, guys. Just so you know,
That's why they call it Holly Weird. And
Yeah,
I mean, because it's not just a little bit leftist, guys. It's pretty far left, and
Yeah.
I mean, and that's that's the prerogative of Hollywood. I think it's sort of what you're going to get when you produce these actors that go to these big Ivy League universities, or they go to drama schools and shit like that. That's what you're going to get. You produce actors and directors and writers, but you also produce activists on some level. And it depends on how far you go. So in the case of Fury Road, this is my evidence as to why it's a feminist film. And Liana says parts of it are. No. The film is feminist. I'm just gonna put it out there. It is. It's more feminist than previous Mad Max movies. That does not mean that the fun isn't fun. That does not mean that the movie isn't still a solid film on its own. But here are the feminist parts. Number one, in the opening, they explain how the world became as sort of desolate and post-apocalyptic as it was because of men. So they say men did this to the world. They made it the way it is. Secondly, in the frame, in the setup, okay, you have it's a patriarchal structure, right? It's Morton Joe as the main villain, and I hope I'm not spoiling anything for you, but this is all sort of
it's all
common
good.
knowledge. He is the main villain.
I'm sensory based, so
Okay.
as long as it's
He is a patriarch, so he runs things. Okay, so they've constructed a patriarchy as the main villain, and you can tell it's a patriarchy because they do a few things. They also sort of show how, in the feminist mind, because remember Eve Ensler involved with the movie, patriarchy hurts men too, and they do this by saying, okay, here's how it's set up. He has all of his, I forget what they call them, but basically he has his army of soldiers, and they're all zealots, and they worship him like a god, and they're all like, I think they're like his kids or something, but I'm not sure. And these guys are all disposable males because there is the army, and they're willing to kill themselves, and they're basically like, think they're going to go to Valhalla, and they get high on spray paint or something, and that's how they throw themselves into the fire, which is basically male disposability. Then you have the women. and he has two types of women that, and this is all besides the dregs that basically just serve him, and he gives them water every so often because he controls the resources, which is another patriarchal thing, right? It's related to the 1% that control all of the resources, okay, or most of them. Then you have the women, and he has like two kinds of women. He has really like overweight, bloated, sort of, unattractive women that essentially he just milks their breasts for milk, which he gives to his soldiers as like for whatever reason. And
How old are they?
Okay,
How old are they?
they're older. They're like middle-aged, older women,
No,
So
that's completely unrealistic then, but please continue.
of course. So you have the older women and the unattractive, overweight women, and they're the milk. And so that's another way in which men exploit women is they take their resources too, or their life, or whatever. I don't know. I'm sure it's that Eve has some theory behind it. And then you have his harem of very attractive, like supermodel, beautiful, Victoria's Secret model. Essentially, they're Victoria's Secret model women that he keeps inside of a giant vault, and he uses them to produce offspring. So he uses them to produce babies, and he treats everybody like shit. And all he wants to do is make more sons and basically stay in power. And that is the patriarchy in their minds. That's the patriarchy, okay? And these really beautiful women represent a few things. I think it's like the way that men objectify women, and the way that men only go for like the top 1% of beautiful women. Because that's who they want to reproduce with. Of course, ignoring the biological reality of the fact that an attractive woman means attractive and strong offspring, which have a better chance of surviving and all that, right?
This is sounding real feminist patriarchy theory fantasy to me.
It is.
I'm not gonna
It
lie. Like, no, I don't know. I haven't seen it, but just
No,
from
I
what
know.
you're describing, I'm like, this sounds like if Heinlein was a feminist and was writing a "This is why we need feminism" book.
And,
I don't know.
And then there's other things too. Like he has brothers. Like so he has like an empire or kingdom or whatever you want to call it. But he owns some land, and that's basically what he rules over. And he also has access to the water. And he has brothers, and they also have access to different resources. So one of them has like access to ammunition and guns, and another one I think he's got like the gasoline. So basically, they have the means of transportation, the means of war, and the means of food and resources between the three of them. And they also have their own armies, and it's the same deal, right? So it's sort of like a patriarchal system in that regard as well. And they're all evil. Like they're just evil. Even the disposable males, except for the one that sort of like turns to the good guy side. And I think part of it has to do with the fact that he basically comes in contact with these women, and he starts to realize that they're human, and he changes, right? He opened up. He realized his toxic masculinity, and he checked his privilege, and he joined the heroes.
His feminine side.
Yes, more or less, sure.
There you go.
And he was also kind of like a broken bird, and the women are attracted to that. But then I know. And then, but here's the real kicker, the thing that really sold it. Although there is a funny side to this as well. The only gang in the whole film that's not evil, that isn't bloodthirsty, that isn't interested in seizing nothing but power and resources and wealth at the expense of anybody, whoever it takes, okay? The only gang that's not is the one that's composed of all women. Because there is a gang that shows up later, and they're all like these old, like old women. Some I think there's like one or two young ones, but they're mostly older. And like these experienced grannies. This is actually what Liana K references that she says later on. She says, my favorites were the grannies. She does not recognize that they intentionally wrote the only good gang in the film as the one that was all female. And I was like, this is fucking obvious. But the hilarious bit is this. They also fucked up. And so and I won't give it away. Well, okay. No, here's the thing. Charlize Theron's character was trying to get, this is the basic plot. She's driving to get to this place called the Green Place. And I guess the Green Place means a place that actually where shit grows,
Sounds
so it's like I'm trying to get to where, Mother Nature still has power, so I can get like natural sort of food and resources, and I can live. And she's probably a vegan or something. But anyway, she's trying to get to this green place, and when she finally gets to where it is, it's a desert. It's like it's actually more like a swampy, marshy mud pit because the female gang could not keep it up. They couldn't keep it up. I mean, like basically the world took it away from them. Now, so in a kind of a funny, twisty way, you could say, oh well, even in this post-apocalyptic feminist fantasy future, the women were still pretty incompetent and couldn't keep the thing going.
I think the swamp is. I think if we're getting all metaphorical, okay, I'm switching glasses, so I'm going to put on my I'm putting on my problem glasses. I actually have a pair for camouflage when I go to school, so so nobody pays attention to me. So okay, problem glasses on. I think the the swamp is a metaphor for the decay and attrition of females' fertility.
Perhaps.
In the absence of men.
It could be.
They just rot and become like menstrual tissue.
Yeah, that's why they're all
spongy.
old women now.
See?
I think that
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be that. Another thing I thought was it could be that swamp thing could have happened because even when women try to make something all by themselves, the patriarchy is just too strong, and therefore the nuclear winds blew over their green place and decayed it because men ruin everything they touch, even when they're not there.
Or the absence of men ruins everything women
Or
try to
that.
do. I don't know. I could see it both ways, really.
Yeah.
So.
And guys, I know you're probably going to say I'm over-analyzing it, but I don't think so.
No,
I think
no,
it was pretty. It wasn't like subtle. I mean, like I would say, it wasn't subtle. So, Teal Deer, maybe you should watch it yourself. I thought it was a fun movie anyway. And then tell me if I'm off the mark or not.
Well, I need to watch it now, clearly,
Yeah.
so I can.
It is a good movie, other than all those those things.
I can experience the menstrual swamp of lack
Yeah.
of fertilization. I don't know. That's my
Yeah.
lens.
Here's
So-
another thing. Here's another way that you would know. Okay, when men die in the movie, most of the time nobody cares, but there's a woman who dies, and it's like a fucking, everybody's losing their shit. So that's another way you know. And this isn't abnormal for Hollywood. This is like pretty normal. If you want people to, if you want to create emotional reaction in your audience, I think Hollywood is aware that if you want to kill a character off to create an emotional reaction in your audience, you kill a woman or a child before you kill a man. You can have an emotional reaction when a man gets killed. I mean, God knows when Phil Coulson died in the Avengers, people were losing their shit. But it's way more effective with a female or
Of
a
course,
child. So,
I can't handle dogs.
or
Dogs and
animals even. Yeah.
Animals being killed.
Yeah. Have
in
you ever
movies,
seen
and it's-
John Wick?
No.
Oh, it's a good movie. Keanu
Maybe I
Reeves,
don't
very
want
good
it.
movie.
Oh.
But a dog dies in it, and it's like this
Oh my God, when
beagle
dogs
puppy
die?
and
Oh
a
my
dog.
God.
But that's actually
Yeah.
the catalyst for the killing spree he goes on afterwards. So it's actually there's a bit of satisfaction. It's revenge for killing a man's dog, and I'm telling you, don't do it.
I don't like anything being killed in movies if it's just for sport, right? I don't mind hunting because I grew up rurally and I know a lot of hunters, and I shoot, so I'd be a hypocrite. But it's the sportiness of it that I'm like. I actually broke up with a guy because he used to take pot shots at rabbits. True story.
Mm-hmm.
He used to take pot shots at rabbits, and he had no intention of eating them or using them for anything. It was just to see if he could hit them, and I'm like, you're a scumfuck, so go away. So I got a bunny thing. But anyway, yeah, that was not a good move. Well, we need to get through this. Oh my God.
Yeah,
we've
we
got,
need
like,
to keep
20
going.
minutes,
I
and
know.
Jesus Christ.
Well,
it
we
was
need
like
to.
half-
We can always do this as a two-parter as well. All right,
It's
let's keep
true.
going.
It's true. Yeah, we need to get to
just
ScarJo.
because girls are punching patriarchy or running it over with the cars doesn't make it a feminist film. There's still
What? Yes, it does.
a lot of beauty standard tied into some really difficult stuff, and I don't use the word problematic. I can't stand it. So, the idea that they're all out in the desert in this society where resources are scarce and they're all fairly pale-skinned white people, give me a break. That race would have adapted to that environment more. So we're still
No, you're talking about many, many years after this happened. I don't think that enough time has passed. I mean, like, that's stupid. Like, oh, the race would have adapted and they wouldn't be pale. Okay, wait. The army of bald guys with skeletal, like dried up lips and like crazy face paint, that they're not white. That's not their natural color. They have like powder on them to make them look white because that's like they're fucking zealots, for one. Secondly, this is still in Mad Max's lifetime, so it hasn't enough time has not actually passed that we have evolved to the point where we're not white in the places where people would normally be white. You would have to make the same argument for Mad Max 1, which actually is before the apocalyptic thing happens, Road Warrior, Beyond Thunderdome, as well as this movie. And unless Mad Max is an immortal, which I don't think he is, not enough time has passed that it would actually change people genetically. So making the I don't know what the fuck, like there shouldn't be white people in the post-apocalyptic future argument is silly, because it hasn't not enough time has passed. But what was that?
I was just gonna say maybe Tina Turner used her leg juice on him because you know her legs have not aged. I'm just putting that out there.
No,
so
no,
she
no.
has it's like Elizabeth Bathory.
I think that
she
when
just bathes them in virgin's blood.
when Tina Turner is buried and they like put her in a time capsule and we dig her up in like 100 years, it's going to be like a desiccated, decayed skeleton from her head down to her hips, and then after that, it's going to be beautiful, glistening legs.
Up,
yeah.
Exactly. Okay. And somewhere someone will fap to this notion. So thanks, Brian. Thanks
Yeah.
for collapsing it up. Yeah. We're setting the bar high. Okay.
Oh my God. Why are they white? This is the Liana K argument. Because it's in Australia.
Exactly.
Okay.
Dealing with the beauty myth a lot, the Western beauty myth.
Drink.
But that's overthinking it.
No, that's wrong thinking it.
Oh. Yeah.
It's a 2-hour car chase. If we start adding that, then we have to wonder what the deal is with that guy playing the guitar in long underwear.
Well, first off, that rocks. That's worth the price of the movie all by itself. Is the guy with the guitar, the guitar flamethrower. But he's just there for the extreme. Oh, here, the mail's here. Sorry, I said that on live. I'm waiting for a package. A package.
I thought I was just gonna say the mail's here and you're waiting for a package.
No. But anyway.
What did you order, Brian?
It's not overthinking it. A board game, actually. It's not overthinking it when it's shoved in there. I mean, this isn't like you're not reading between the lines to see this. It's fucking obvious. They basically spell it out. And if you're anyone that's even like remotely aware of like gender politics, you're gonna see it. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not saying that they never should have done it. I'm not saying that they should take it out. I'm saying there it is. It's there. You can't ignore it. It's like I'm sorry, but that's just what it is. It's a part of the it's just what it is. So you were gonna say
beauty standards are going to be here 100 years from now. They're going to be here 200 years from now. They're going to vary slightly, but there's always going to be a baseline of biological symmetry and health and all that other good shit. So, yeah, it's not a myth. I mean, yeah. Although there are cultural considerations, all right? I don't think beauty is a construct, but there are cultural considerations. But I'm just saying there's always going to be standards of beauty. And I love how Liana is perfectly happy to point out when she fits them.
Yeah.
As we will soon see.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Yeah, we got to get to that. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's keep going.
You
right.
can't.
What was he like
fantasy.
at home? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
He was very committed to playing the guitar and using a flamethrower at the same time. And you know what? Those are good life goals, I think.
Those about to rock. Put on the long johns.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see the back of him to see if he had that butt flap. And that's the thing. There's an element of displacement in fantasy that you can't ignore when you do this sort of analysis. At some point, it's just fun. There was a pre-existing tradition with the aesthetic of Mad Max that they didn't want to dismantle too much. And I was fine with that. Your comment on the perfect female character. This gets into the question of, is there any such thing of a perfect female character? Because if you say that Charlize Theron as the grease-covered, one-armed, badass is the perfect female character, then somebody like, say, the main character of the movie Enchanted who's sort of this princess with attitude who makes dresses out of curtains and, you know, she's got her own kind of cute agency. You're saying she's imperfect.
No, he's not. You see, that's why he had to be careful with that word, because she's going to go after it. I think that's part of feminist programming or feminist conditioning is, you know, when people use words, instead of asking them, okay, when you say perfect, do you mean ideal? Do you mean this is a very strong example? Or do you actually mean perfect? And then I bet if she brought that up, he would probably say, no, I was just thinking it's a really good example. Maybe that wasn't the best word. Okay, now we understand each other and like we can move forward. But no, she basically gloms onto the fact that he used the word perfect, and now she wants to take that down and say, no, you're wrong, and here's why. You know? And then also, but we're talking past each other though, guys.
Obviously. And you know what you won't hear? I mean, you'll hear arguments about what the perfect female character is, but you won't hear a female being a perfect female character who is physically ideal to a certain eye, who is perhaps not a total bitch face, who maybe likes bringing her man coffee and toast in the morning, who maybe likes being a homemaker, who likes doing these traditional female things, because that can never be a perfect female character.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to even go anywhere near what constitutes an ideal female character, as Liana K herself has done in many of her videos, she talks about these are the kind of characters that we want to see. I don't know. I think it depends on the eye. And for me personally, if a woman chooses to be perhaps 2IC, second in command, and perhaps chooses to make family and home her goal, and perhaps chooses to seek a man who is adept at making decisions and is perfectly happy for him to do that, and he is perfectly content to do that, what's wrong with her being a perfect female character? What about a woman who exercises every day because she wants to be beautiful? And let's just put it as it is.
But
for her
inclusion,
man, right?
My beauty standards, my inclusion.
Exactly. But she's choosing to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But she can't be perfect, right? Because, and this is the giant mindfuck with feminism. I like sex and I like to be attractive to men, and that means I do shit like shave and like and that's to me is pretty normal. But that's an imperfect female character, because the second you do something to be attractive for men, you fall out of the category. But I can be an old badass grandma.
Oh yeah.
That's okay.
That's
I
okay.
can have one arm and a facial scar.
But still not perfect though, because we don't want to define perfect too rigidly, because inclusion, and that's actually the argument that Liana K is getting at.
I know, but what you will never hear her say is that a subservient woman could ever even possibly come close to it.
Nope.
And that is what I'm pointing out. Because she wants to change female characters, but is saying there's no perfect female character, so then why do we need to change them? And it goes around and around and around like a hamster.
Indeed. All right, moving on.
So yeah, moving on with the hamster.
And then you get into this idea of there being one right kind of woman at any given time. And that's when I start going, and I think that's what you got out of my reaction, because I'm like, we're going to get into this perfect archetype. We're going to get into this platonic ideal of womanhood, and no matter what the ideal is at any given time, as long as there is a single ideal, then we've got problems, because everybody who doesn't conform to that ideal is obviously not ideal. And the problem with superhero films and things.
Okay, she's going on to a different thing. All right, so here's something that I got to throw out there, okay? Do you think anywhere like there be places on the net like where there be conversations like this about representation of characters in fictional things such as films, comics, video games, whatever, pop culture, about men? Would there be a conversation where a guy says, "Oh, I thought that this was like the perfect male character," and then somebody else comes in and he's like, "Well, when you define perfect, you gotta like be careful, because that means that anybody who's not conforming to this very strict standard is not perfect," and that's bad, because men, they need to see themselves in films, and it's important. Otherwise, they won't be able to get on with their lives or graduate college, and they'll probably end up homeless and then commit suicide because we did not represent them properly in pop culture. That will never happen. We only do this for women. And the thing is, what Liana K doesn't seem to understand is the fact that she's overly concerning herself with the way that women are represented in media is the reason why there is such a limited representation of women in media. Feminists are the reason that so many female characters are so awfully written. And I'm telling you this.
That is what I am trying to say.
Yes.
Yeah, that is exactly
They're
what I'm
the
trying to
reason
say.
why. And I mean, I hate to say this, but if I love the Marvel movies. I've seen them all. And I've seen like all of the Netflix shows, and I watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a few seasons before I got bored. But I watched all of that shit. And the thing is, even though those films are not especially SJWE, even though I think they're starting to move in that direction because the comics is way, way in there and they're just fucking sinking. I noticed that the women are the dullest, most uninteresting, the worst parts of those movies. Like Natalie Portman in the Thor movie, I didn't give a shit about her. Gwyneth Paltrow in the Iron Man movies,
I was just
couldn't
gonna
care
say,
less.
I can't dig pepper
Don't
pots.
give a shit
I
about
can't.
her.
I just
Yeah.
fast forward that.
Even
No
Black
offense,
Widow,
but, I mean, okay,
dullest
yeah.
character. I mean, like when the Avengers movie came out, Black Widow, dullest character, least interesting.
And yet in the
It's-
comics, she was awesome.
Oh, she is, yeah. And the thing is, it's not that she's especially awful. It's just that because Hollywood in general has a feminist mindset, and Joss Whedon especially so, he has actually admitted it himself. He puts things in to appease women and feminists. He panders so hard, and many Hollywood people do. They end up making them flat and uninteresting because they are so risk averse when it comes to making them flawed, making them whatever, make them more interesting.
This is what.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go on. No, I'm getting excited. But this is what's going to happen with Hollywood, right? Because it's going to polarize the audience. Because you're going to get the dumb shits who look to Hollywood for their visions of what they're supposed to act like and look like. And they're going to go, hey, this is great. We should just keep doing this. And then you've got the other people who don't look to Hollywood and go, well, actually, I don't resonate with these characters. And it's going to fall apart just simply from a screenwriting audience identification standpoint. Right? Mm-hmm. And that's what we're all. I mean, the perfect example of that was the new Ghostbusters reboot. You cannot have this. You cannot have this rigid standard of what people say is an okay character and be a good fucking writer, because people don't want ideal characters. They want characters that they can relate to in some way. There has to be something in there that's not quite perfect. I mean, even idealized characters have flaws that we relate to. And oh my God, this Black Widow was so insipid that I just was like,
yeah, she was just kind of like, I mean, she's basically kind of bland. Like it's not because she doesn't have powers. It's not that. It's just the character isn't crazy developed very well. And I think that, like, here's the thing. When I look at the characters that stand out the most, and I'm going to use the Marvel movies as an example, but you can probably find way more examples outside of superhero movies, so I'm just using this as an example, guys. So don't say, well, it's because superhero movies suck. No. This is a problem throughout all of Hollywood's media, all of comic book media. It's a problem. And here's the thing. Even like books. Like Katniss Everdeen, boring as fuck. Boring. Exactly. I mean, like, I don't give a shit about her. It's the thing is, like, when I look at the Marvel movies, right? I know what Captain America stands for. And I don't mean like as a symbol. I mean like I know what the character himself believes in, Steve Rogers, what his beliefs are. I know what his foibles are. I know what I know him on a principle level. And I understand the choices that he will make and why. And whether I agree with it 100% or not is irrelevant, but I find the character extremely endearing for those reasons. And a lot of it has to do with his flaws. His flaws being that he's a bit of an idealist, that he's a man out of time, that he doesn't really understand references, and he becomes the butt of a joke sometimes. Same thing happens with Thor. He's the butt of a joke sometimes. Same thing happens with Iron Man. This is across the board. But Black Widow, I don't know what she stands for. Other than I got red in my ledger, whatever the fuck that means, and I don't want anybody to know about me, and that's it. Like, I'm like, okay, so what? So, she lies occasionally.
And what is it? But what is it with not letting female characters fuck up too? Like female characters are not allowed to fuck up anymore.
She
They're not
should
allowed
be
to
the
the person who let down the team.
Yeah, she should be the
Even if
least
they
effective. She should be the least effective member of that team, and all too often she's actually like hanging right up there with like Winter Soldier and Captain America, just hanging, just doing what they do. And I'm like, you don't have a super soldier serum, you don't have a bionic arm,
Oh my God.
you're just a woman.
We're going off on a comic trend.
Okay.
We're going off on a comic tangent. And I wanted to like Scarlet Witch so much, but I'm projecting my mind forward, and I'm like, I cannot imagine this little twiglet rewriting fucking reality and ruining everyone's universe. Like, I can't do it. I can't do it. Like, I don't know. I can't do it.
I don't know, yeah.
We need female characters to be allowed to make fucking mistakes again, because otherwise there's no fucking redemption arc. Come
Just
on.
when you do it, this is all I would ask. And I said this before. When you're going to write a female character, just think of a male character and write that, and then make them female. That's it. Don't make it incidental, is what I'm saying. You know, don't try to make special exceptions to them. Just write them as they were. Actually, I will give credit to the Russo brothers who made Winter Soldier as well as Civil War. They treated Black Widow better than any other filmmaker that put her in. So way better than Joss Whedon and Jon Favreau when he did I think it was Iron Man 2. But that was mainly because they to some degree they didn't make it about the fact that she was a woman. They just put her on the team and they just let her do her thing, and then they worked with her under limitations because she's clearly the most limited in terms of her abilities. So anyway, we're way off the thing. Let's keep going.
Oh my God.
Things like that is you've got Tony Stark, and you've got Captain America, and you've got Falcon, and you've got Thor, and you've got Bruce Banner, who's very different from the Hulk, and you've got all these different types of dudes to choose from. You've got Scarlett Johansson.
So she's trying to make the argument that all those male actors and characters are different, like they're diverse, I guess. And then Scarlett Johansson is like I guess she's going to try and make an argument that she's like represents the ideal white female beauty standard. But here's the thing. Well, first off, she's leaving out Black Widow. So, I mean, not Black Widow, Scarlet Witch. So shame on you, Liana, for erasing her identity. She is a woman as well. But
She is a marginalized minority woman.
don't marginalize her just because she's from a small, probably communist country.
Don't deny the Holocaust, and that
Yeah.
is anti-gypsy. So I don't know. Like, you're covering all bases with Scarlet Witch here. You got so much to work with
Yeah.
marginalization. So,
But
anyway.
here's the thing though. Like, are you seriously trying to make the argument that Chris Helmsworth, Chris Evans, Anthony Mackie, fucking Don Cheadle, Mark Ruffalo, and Robert Downey Jr. represent a variety of dudes? Like, yeah, because I know guys built like those guys. Like, clearly,
I know
like,
guys built like those guys,
yeah.
but they don't return my calls.
they're all my friends, and we all just look like that. That's diversity.
It's true.
And but Scarlett Johansson is the one that represents unfair beauty standards for women because it's just one woman. Even though all these dudes, they all clearly are on like the P90X like workout plan, to the point where, by the way, Chris Helmsworth was like, I'm not doing that to my body again because I like food. So it's weird that she's saying that, that represents diversity. First of all, it's not Hollywood's responsibility. It shouldn't be Hollywood's responsibility to have a character in the piece of media that they make that reflects you. It's not their responsibility. If you have a problem with that, then you have a problem. You need to fix it. Because we're not going to put a 300-pound, Black Widow in a movie just because there are fat women that like movies. That's not their responsibility, and nobody wants to see that. We want to escape. It would be like saying, well, I don't like the Harry Potter movies because they use magic and I don't know how to use magic, and so it's triggering for me to see people doing stuff that I can't do. So I think that you should take it out, or at the very least, just make the magic things like, card tricks, or how to, putting the rings together and taking the rings apart, and like stuff that I know how to do because I have a magic kit. Not not the crazy shit that they're doing. Like,
But wait,
no.
but wait, Brian. What if there was a superhero character who looked exactly like you? Would your opinion change? I need to know.
I'd be creeped out. I don't go to a movie to see myself. Who does that? You'd have to be, okay, a narcissist does that.
The answer?
Yeah. Okay, so she brings up Scarlett Johansson because Scarlett Johansson represents the 1%, I guess.
And I came out pretty well in terms of perfect woman in the Avengers because of the physical resemblance.
What?
I've been waiting for this
Oh my
moment.
god!
Oh my god!
Oh my
I
god!
died.
You guys,
I died laughing
We need to
when
hear
it
that
came.
again
Oh my
because
God.
I
Yep,
think
no,
it cannot be
yep.
overstated.
Rewind.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Is it gonna play?
Thor, and you've got Bruce Banner, who's very different from the Hulk, and you've got all these different types of dudes to choose from. You've got Scarlett Johansson. And I came out pretty well in terms of perfect woman in the Avengers because of the physical resemblance.
But the thing is, I was watching this and I was waiting for her to crack a joke, right? I was waiting for her to like, haha, yeah, it's not there. It's not there. And maybe my Christy Winters sarcasm ring is wrong, but I keep waiting for the ha ha ha, I look like Scarlett Johansson. No. I think she may actually have said this with a straight face.
Oh, I'm pretty sure.
I would.
Liana K went to the Avengers. You just asked me, okay? How would I, if I saw an actor or a character that looked just like me in a film, would I change my position on that? And I rejected it as just creepy. And I think that people who really need to see themselves in stuff are like the definition of narcissism. That's literally, I want to look at a mirror, and that's what I want. I need to see it. And narcissism isn't just mean like the idea that you think you're the shit. It means it's the idea that you think that you're important enough that you should be, considered by everyone, whether you want to be the center of attention for negative reasons or positive reasons. And I think it's, and then right after that, Liana K makes a statement that she sees herself in Scarlett Johansson in the Avengers movies. She is Black Widow. We just don't know it yet.
The cringe was so strong with me. Like, and I say derpy shit all the time, right? So I'm kind of in a glass house. But I can say I've never compared myself to Scarlett Johansson. And I've got red hair. Like, I've got red hair. I look nothing like Scarlett Johansson, okay? Meredith Palmer from The Office in the Halloween episode where she is dressed like Black Widow looks more like Scarlett Johansson than either Liana or myself do. Okay, so I was just like, oh my god, you did not, oh no, it's like bleeding into the water and the sharks are circling, why you do this? Anyway, yes, couldn't believe it.
I'm telling you.
Man, yeah. Like, if you never ever compare yourself to someone who's traditionally standardly good looking in public when you're, maybe you don't, even if you are really super extra good looking. I mean, Leanna's attractive, but you just don't, no.
I know. That'd be like me saying, I kind of see myself in Lexington Steel, but I'm not, I'm just, I'm not bragging or anything, but, that's just what I see. I mean, what do you want? The proof is in the pudding, and I feel good to see that representation of myself. I'm just gonna stop it.
We're gonna have to stop.
We're gonna have to stop it here. I had to get to that point.
Yeah, we had to get to that point. I'm like, honey, you're lovely, Liana, but no.
Yeah. We gotta end it there. We'll come back and do the other half. It goes for a bit longer, because we're about halfway through. So yeah.
I've got a couple more notes. So we kind of went off on Fury Road there for a while.
That's okay.
And I was doing a lot of quiet.
I hope you guys.
I had no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, no. I hope you guys enjoy
right.
it. Maybe if you can, Bunny, maybe set some time aside, check out Fury Road, and then we can talk about it when you come back. I don't know.
Yes. No. Now I want to see it. I want to see the dusty powdered milk. It'll remind me of the war. So that's all I can think of. I'm like, how old are they? And he's milking them? That's really unrealistic.
Oh, no.
As somebody who's done lactation consulting,
I think
that
they're
is
making-
highly unrealistic.
I think they're making like an aged kind of, sour cream type of milk, like buttermilk.
Oh
or
no!
maybe
no,
yogurt.
No,
I don't
no.
know.
It's
Anyway,
summertime
we're gonna
somewhere,
go.
Doge.
Yeah, I know.
As a whole bunch of people are like, like the tampons being sent through the mail.
Yeah.
I can't. Okay, I'm good.
Okay, we're gonna go, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves and had fun on this episode of Bunny and Doge.
We did get off topic.
Or
I'm
Doge and
sorry,
Bunny.
guys. It became a movie review. I don't know. So,
Yeah, we went on. Yeah, whatever. It was fun.
It happens. It happens. It was fun. Chat was fun.
We'll come back and do more of this later. Have a good night, and we'll see you next time. As soon as I hit this